Chair, thank you, gentlemen, that we are still here able to get some answers. Mr. Guilbeault, I really appreciate you being here because one of the things that's really I found confusing for me is to try and figure out how the Canadian Energy Regulator is looking at its scenarios when I keep hearing you guys talking about, as you say, a cap on emissions and then reducing them. Under their December 2021 evolving policy scenario, 2019 we had 4.9 million barrels a day oil production, and in 2050 we will have 4.8 million barrels a day production. So that's a pretty lame target if we're going to have the same production in 2050 as we have today. And you've told us that you've used the CER as part of your climate plan. Don't you have a better standard than to say we're going to have the same amount of production in 2050 as we have today?
An experienced parliamentarian like you, Mr. Angus, would know that the energy regulator is an independent body from the government. We don't tell the energy regulator how to do their job, as we don't for any regulator, this one or any other.
Well, I get that. I guess as an experienced parliamentarian, I know how to read the reports. So you tell us that you've used the CER, because I asked you about Bay du Nord, and you said, oh, well, that's in what we've looked at with the Canadian Energy Regulator. So, okay, but I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Bay du Nord was not on the plan in December 2021, so they're thinking of a million barrel a day increase. So is Bay du Nord part of that, or is that increased? But I don't see under their evolving scenarios based on your plans how we end up in a situation that we are still producing the same amount of oil in 2050 as we are today, because they have another scenario that it actually goes up to 6.7 million barrels a day depending on markets. So what possible use is your cap if the regulator is looking at all the policies and saying production basically stays the same?
I would be happy to answer your question, but I think
no, I'd love to hear you. I ask Mr. Wilkinson all the time. I'd love to hear your answer.
So I will paraphrase or try to what Minister Wilkinson said, but he basically asked the energy regulator to do another study looking at what a 1.5 degree Celsius scenario, compliant scenario would look like. I would imagine that we will get that new scenario.
That's what I thought, but then you said that you were using them for your big plan that you came up with last week. So I'm thinking,
we had
okay,
to, Mr. Angus. This was all that we had. I can't base analysis on a scenario that we or scenarios that we haven't seen.
But then you say you're not using them, but then you're using them. But Mr. Wilkinson's going to change it.
We're out of
still
the
confused.
2.5 minutes here. It's much.